Okay. All right, we ready? What page? All right, that's a good question. Let's take some votes. Yeah, and?
Yeah, no, we heard the car.
Two people are on 128, so.
I've heard
129.
two votes. Oh, 128
Good
and
base.
129.
Beginning good base. Thanks very much.
We're you at base.
Yes.
Yes.
See, we have consensus. Let's
We
go.
have consensus.
Let's do it.
All right.
Look at us chicks keep everybody on.
Does anybody remember what we were talking about before then? Well, you see.
What happened was.
Soul coming back.
Yes, reincarnation.
And then
All right.
It is.
We are on page 128 and 129.
I have written down that there.
Oh, in that book, 253.
She's got the cheating book.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a cheating
You got the
book?
teacher's edition. It's got all the
Get
answers
access
to
to
the
that.
quizzes and everything.
Maybe I should take a picture of that book and not this book.
Okay.
No, that's the teacher.
All right, we ready?
Yep.
Can anybody hear me?
They're who?
Oh
Good
my
base.
gosh, they turned off the music. Hello? Do we know who it was? Do we know who? Do you know which lady it was who did that? All right, I'm gonna give her a tip. She's the first one who actually turned it off for us. All right, that's excellent. I'm just gonna go thank her afterwards. Please remind me. Okay.
Don't take too long though, 'cause I need your wife.
Anything else?
I'll probably go pick her up.
Yeah. Okay, because the kids will just be fine. Home alone.
They will.
All right, here we go.
Your kids are great.
All right, so we're up to Yud Beis. So what we have been talking about until now has been the setup of the design of our lives. So every person has a determined set of circumstances that they're going to be in, and that ranges with everything from their physical and mental makeup to all the things that happen to them and around them and their family, their upbringing, events, all of that. It's all those things are determined. And we said obviously choices are not. Choices are entirely up to us, but all the other stuff happens around us, and to us that's determined. And he's been mentioning a lot of different factors that can weigh into that determination, be it our own deeds, be it deeds of our predecessors, be it the needs of the world, all sorts of different things that come into play. And he said that Hashem is the only one who's able to calculate all of that to make sure that everything happens the way it needs to happen based on all of those different factors. And he said that it's not like all the factors are active at the same time. So a person might, for example, need poverty from one factor, and he might need wealth from another factor. So what might happen is that for a portion of his life he'll be poverty stricken, a portion of his life he'll be wealthy. So this way both of those can do what they need to do for this person's life, but they won't be active at the same time. He says, he says it's almost never that they're all working together. It's generally it's one or two or, whatever that are working to reach a certain goal, and then once that's done, another one will come into play and start whatever track that needs to be on. Just to illustrate that, I don't think I mentioned this last week, but there is a story in Lithuania with a very, very wealthy individual. I think I did mention the story once before in this class, who was a tremendous, tremendous giver. He would just be giving anybody who asked, every organization, every individual. He was always giving and giving and giving, and his wealth was growing and growing and growing. It was working out excellently. And one day, literally overnight, he lost everything. He lost his entire fortune. And someone went to the Reb Chaim, I believe, Reb Chaim Brisker, Reb Chaim Soloveitchik, and asked him, what's going on here? Here's a person who's clearly doing what Hashem wants him to do with all this wealth. Hashem is clearly giving it to him because he's the right guy. He is the one who's spending it the way it's supposed to be spent, and yet it's taken away from him without notice. Like, what happened? So Reb Chaim said he passed the test. That's it. Simple, right? The test was all the wealth. He passed the test, and now it's time for the next stage of life. Right? It wasn't a punishment. He didn't do anything wrong. He did everything right. Test is over. You got 100. Next test doesn't include wealth. Next test involves something else. Right? So that's how we have to look at life. things come and things go, people come and people go, and these are all things that those experiences make us who we are. We have to recognize that all of those things are meaningful and they all are with design. So we should never think happenstance. We should never think, why did this happen to me, right? It's not the appropriate approach. The appropriate approach is to understand that everything is by design and with a plan, with a purpose, and it's for our benefit. Okay? Good? All right, so let's start with Yud Beis. V'ulam, however, tzar sheteda, you need to know, shehamikrim hakarim livnei adam, that the things that happen to people, yesh behem shnei minim, there are two categories, there's two types. Ha'echad mikrim tachlisim, the first group is the things that happen that are the ends, v'hasheni emtsoim, and the second group are the means. So we have ends and we have means. Pirush, meaning, tachlisim, the things that are the ends, mikrim sheyiyu nigzarim al adam. These are things that will occur to a person that are decreed upon them. And they are the things that this person deserves and needs based on one of those sources that we mentioned previously. We had all the different things that could contribute to something happening to a person, and those are the things that are being described. Those are category one. Those are the ends, which are the products of the sources that we've been discussing. The emtsaim, and then the second group is the things that are the means, is mikra sheyikrula. These are things that will happen to a person. That through these things happening, one of the ends will come to be. So it's a two-step process sometimes. In order for example, for someone to achieve wealth, there have to be steps that are going to lead to that. There has to be, let's take the easiest scenario. He's going to win the lottery. There have to be steps that lead up to him winning the lottery. Something has to motivate him to buy a ticket. The ticket has to be worth the amount that he needs to get. All of these things need to happen. So all those other things that are along the way for the end to take place, those are all also part of the plan, but those are the means to reach those ends. And this is what the pasuk means when it says, Derech Hashem ki anafta bi. I praise Hashem, I thank Hashem because you punished me, you were angry with me. Shepirshu Chazal, that our sages explained this to refer to Shenishbura regel parasai v'nafla, someone's cow broke its leg and fell, umatzasimo tachtel, and then the owner found a treasure under the fallen cow, and he would never have noticed it if not for the fact that his cow had broken its leg and fallen. So there are things that happen in life that on the surface seem difficult, painful, hard, and yet beneath them, sometimes we are privileged to see the goodness that comes from it. We don't always get to see that, but sometimes we do. And I think I mentioned in the last class, my brother-in-law, right? He lives with Crohn's his whole life until he got leukemia, and then the Crohn's went away, right, with the chemo, right? So sometimes we don't see, but sometimes we do get to see, and that's it's always very inspiring when we do get to see.
Is that considered a certain shalahava when you pass a test that you move on to the different test that it's worse?
Okay, that's a good question. So what Shai is asking is that there are two categories of difficulties in life. There are either Yisurim Shel Ahava, which are pains out of love, and Yisurim Shel of Yira, which are pains that come from punishment or fear, things like that. So typically the way we understand Yisurim Shel Ahava is the difficulties that come from love are the things that are not there to guide us in a direction of growth, but they're there, let me rephrase that. They're not there because we've done something wrong and we need them to guide us to growth. They're there to further our guidance. So if that means somebody is living a difficult life and they're constantly connecting to Hashem, those difficulties might continue in order to keep him on that path because that's his road to perfection. As opposed to somebody who's done something wrong but everything is good, they might need something to wake them up and be, their car's going to break down or their house going to get broken into or something crazy to get them to get focused. Right? So those are the two types. This particular type is where a person is seeing the good outcome of what they had. So that's almost certainly not because they need to correct something. That's almost certainly because this is Hashem's continuing to guide them on the path they need to be on. So under most circumstances, I would say yes, these are Yisurim Shel Ava, but it doesn't have to be that way because this isn't really where the differentiation is between Yisurim Shel Ava and Yisurim Shel Yira, because that really is on a different plane. Okay? Okay. Okay, the Ramchal continues. Or you can have Sheyimoet mimikre sheroi shelo yagi elai. A person might be saved from some sort of situation that they don't deserve to be in. Kigain, for example, Shenis Akev, he got held up for some sort of delay, and he missed the boat. Literally, right? He had a boat to catch, he missed the boat because he got held up somewhere along the way. So he writes, and he couldn't go the way he wanted to go. And then the boat sank. Right? So situations like that happen where a person is going through life and they get very frustrated because something doesn't work out the way they want it to work out. Yeah. Because something doesn't work out the way they want it to work out, and then they realize afterwards that it's very much to their benefit. It saved their lives. Right? How many people weren't in the Twin Towers on 9/11 because they were saying slichas? Because, in a couple of weeks from now, we'll start slichas, and davening takes a little bit longer, and because of that, a whole bunch of people were not in the Twin Towers at their normal workplace because they were late to that. They were late because of davening, right? So you find situations where something might seem frustrating and off and difficult, and that's only because we don't see deeper than the surface. If we're only looking at the surface, that's all we're going to see. But if we look deeper, sometimes we're privileged to actually see the rationale behind the circumstances that we are put into. So these are examples of means to ends, right? So a person shouldn't think that all of the categories that we've been talking about until now, all the different sources for why things happen, that those are limited to the major events in life. Those are the end of those purposes. But along the way, there's a lot of steps that need to take place. There's a lot of things that need to happen along the way. There's a song sung by Avram Fried many years ago, a Yiddish song. It's called a bletela, a leaf. And it's a story about how a chassid was walking and he saw a leaf fall to the ground. And he was wondering, why did this happen? Things don't happen in life for no reason. Things happen for a purpose. Why did the leaf fall to the ground? So he asked the leaf, why did you fall? And the leaf said, I don't know, you got to talk to the branch. So he asked the branch, why did you make the leaf fall? The branch says, I don't know, you got to talk to the tree. And the tree said, I don't know, you got to talk to the wind. And the wind said, I don't know, you got to talk to the angel who controls the wind. And the angel said, don't ask me, ask Hashem. So he asked Hashem, and Hashem said, pick up the leaf and you'll see. And he picked up the leaf, and under the leaf he saw a little ant. And he said, this poor ant was dying in the heat, and he couldn't survive, and he said, Hashem, help me. So Hashem put all the different processes in motion till the leaf fell and protected the ant from the heat, right? Now, that's obviously not a real story, but the concept is exactly what we're talking about over here. Hashem has to work out all of the different processes, every step of the way, to make things happen, even if they seem insignificant. But the entire universe is running on this system. Every single leaf falling on the ground is running through this system that Hashem has everything working out, working together with this complex system to make it all happen. Okay.
So if everything's held in this divine crucible, everything's under this divine hashgacha, right? So then, I guess that's like radical emunah. If you could tap into that, then everything should just roll off of you, and you should be at relative peace. A person who could attain these levels, tzaddikim maybe, there would be very little worries if you were actually holding by the ideal of what the Ramchal is saying, or understanding this and being able to implement this. There would be very little worry in your life because everything would pass through these lenses of everything is occurring through these divine acts, and we're all it's held up by this divine crucible. that's
Yes,
like
the
that emunah for sure, that's-
Sifrei Musar, the Musar works all say along the same lines that if a person has proper emunah, then there is no worry in life. Only a person who's lacking emunah, lacking in this belief and understanding that Hashem has His own best interest in mind and is doing everything that's happening, only someone who's lacking in that is going to have any worry in their lives. A person who is fully understanding and living with emunah will have no worry,
So, I think
no matter what goes on.
I
Yes.
just have a question to what you're saying, and that is, we can trust that everything is happening for our higher good, for a reason, for our growth. Yet, we don't always know how to react, what our growth is supposed to be. And to me, that's where my, I don't know, stress or, like, what am I supposed to get from this kind
Right.
of question?
Right.
Okay. All right. So that's a good point. So this is something that again we have discussed here, but I also there's a video on YouTube by some guy Niddickman about this, and during COVID there was a video put out on the BBJ YouTube channel. I happened to find it. I thought it was pretty interesting. So what had happened was COVID had hit, and everybody was trying to figure out what does Hashem want from us? Why is this all going on? Right? Everything's shutting down. The world's coming to a standstill. Nothing's working the way it's supposed to work. What is going on? What does Hashem want from us? And everybody was throwing out this idea and that idea, and there are all sorts of things. And yet our sages were really not giving us direction. They really weren't. Not publicly, anyway. Maybe in small groups they were talking to their peers and talking to their personal students and things. But as far as making public proclamations about things that need to happen and things we need to improve on, there was none of that. So what was going on? So this video said that the concept works like this. Hashem sends us messages, and Hashem knows exactly the degree of our ability to interpret those messages. So He doesn't expect us to be fortune tellers and to be prophets, to be able to know exactly what that message is meant to be. So unless He gives us direction through our sages by inspiring them to teach us what to do, Hashem does not expect us to do anything more than our own self-reflection, introspection, looking at what we can take from this personally. And every person's going to be different. But Hashem knows that we're not getting direction on this and that we're not prophets, and that COVID didn't come with a little memo that says, fix this, right? It doesn't happen. So Hashem knows that we have no way of knowing what He really wants, and that's all part of the plan. So Hashem wants us to each look within ourselves and ask ourselves, what does this mean to me? How am I going to grow? Now, what happens if I get it wrong? What happens if I totally get it wrong? Hashem's like, you're supposed to work on getting there on time to davening every day. And I interpret this as, I need to spend more money on Shabbos. Right? So I totally missed the boat. Completely. Entirely missed the boat, right? Yet, Hashem knows that I have no way of knowing that it was about davening. Hashem knows that I don't know that. And the fact that He sees that I'm making an effort in a different area, which is also a good area, get full credit. Because Hashem knows that I have no way of knowing which is right and which is wrong. So as long as I'm picking one and I'm saying, Hashem, I don't know what you want from me, but I'm going to work on X. Whatever X may be, Hashem says, all right, that's great. That's all I can expect. I can't expect any better from you because I haven't given you prophets. I haven't given you divine inspiration to tell you what exactly you're supposed to be working on. Okay, so that's a good question. Brad is asking, how do you know where to draw the line between hishtadlus, where you have to put in your effort and you have to do your part, and emunah, where it says just trust that Hashem's doing this all for your benefit? Well, how do you draw the line between the two? The answer as Ramchal writes in Mesilas Yesharim, pretty simple. You have to do what's considered normal under the circumstances. What the populace of your society considers normal under your circumstances, that is what you are required to do. Anything more than that is too much hishtadlus and a lack of emunah. Anything less than that is not enough hishtadlus.
Is there a guidebook for this particular part of the world /
Well,
community?
You-
I would love to know when I can stop.
When you can stop what?
When I've done my part.
For what?
For anything.
So whatever is considered normal, look around. Is this what the general populace does, or do they do more, or do they do less? That's your answer. You know, a person. You know, there was a very great sage who, when he was saying Shema, he would repeat the words often, just to make sure he said it exactly right. Because in Shema, if you don't say the words exactly right, you don't fulfill the mitzvah. So he would say it really, really carefully over and over and over again until he made sure he got every single word exactly right. So someone asked, should I do that also? Someone asked a different sage, should I do the same thing? Should I also say Shema like this rabbi does? And he answered him, if you have as many locks on your front door as him, then you can say Shema like him. Meaning to say, some people's personalities is that they're more leaning in a certain direction. They're more cautious. That's just the way they live their lives. You know, a little bit more OCD, a little more of this, a little more of that. You have to work within your framework of who you are. You know, you can't take somebody who's OCD and expect them to act like somebody who's not, right? You have to be able to work within the framework of each individual. But basically, as a general guideline, you look around. Do you need to have more than 2 locks on your front door? Look around. Do most people around you have more than 2 locks on their front door? No. So then you don't need to either. And you shouldn't, because that's a lack of emunah. Because now you're saying,
I don't know where the key is.
You too, huh?
Whoever wants to get in, they'll get in.
Right, so meaning to say, you just have to do what's considered the standard of Hishtadlus, the standard of whatever area you're dealing with, whatever question you have to deal with that standard. And that's considered the norm, and that's what you should be doing. More than that is a lack of emunah, less than that is a lack of Hishtadlus.
It's very vague.
And if you're not sure, ask. Ask. You need to get an outside opinion who can look at something objectively and say, you know, even though you think 8 locks on your door is normal, I don't think so. You know, you might need someone to tell you
Calm
that.
down.
I think 1's not enough.
Well,
Right?
too bad.
Okay.
Too bad. I have attack kittens.
You did a deadbolt discount. All right. Nice. What if you have 4 deadbolts?
Wait, is there really such thing as a deadbolt discount? I need to check and make sure I have that.
Yes, $1 a year. Excellent. All right, here we
Probably about
go.
what it is.
Okay, are we clear? Is this all good?
Yes.
Wait, locks on doors? Why? Who? Yeah. All right. Yes, I am proud to let everybody know that I currently have a combination lock on my door. My door will now be locked.
I saw that last night, actually.
I know. First time since we moved in. 5 years. Wow. We're locking our doors. If anyone ever needs to get in, please just let me know. I'll give you the code. Okay, here we go.
Well, we'll ask you later why. Is that because everybody else is doing it?
What?
Everybody else is doing it, so now you have to do it too?
No, it's because I finally found someone who was going to install it for me.
Maybe it was some keys.
Yeah. Combination lock's the way to go.
Yeah, we have one on our door too.
All right, here we go. Continuing on. Okay, Ramchal continues. V'gam, and furthermore, Emsa'im Eila, these happenings, these things that go on in our lives, Afshur shegiyu l'tzarech atzmai shel ha'adam she'yikru lai, they may be for the individual that it happens to, themselves, the Afshur, or it could be shegiyu l'tzarech zulasai. It might be for somebody else. Something might happen to me because of someone else needing something. Meaning, that through what happens to me, something good or bad might happen to somebody else, which is the intended purpose. So, for example, somebody else needs to receive a gift, a financial gift. I might be given money for the purpose of giving it to that individual. So the fact that I got the raise or won the lottery or got the inheritance is not because I need that money. It's not for me, right? The purposes that are making all this happen were actually not related to me at all. They were simply because the guy next to me needs it, and by me having it and being exposed to that guy, I'm going to give that person. So all of the things that made the lottery end up in my hands may have been entirely for my neighbor who needs the money. Right? So now obviously there's a purpose to that for me as well, because I am the medium through which it happens and I get the mitzvah and all of that. So there's certainly benefit there, but the main...
Just speaking from an insurance standpoint, make sure you have an umbrella policy so your neighbor can't take the money from you.
Yes.
You know the last guy who tried that?
Big fan.
His money ended up in a diamond and a hat that ended up in someone's fish for Shabbos.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that story? Yeah, umbrella policies don't always work so well.
Like a good neighbor.
Safe Farm's there to take your money?
DJ is there.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so Amnam, however, Hachachma, Yaina, yeah, hello.
Oh, well, drink.
Amnam, your cup's empty.
It's only Vihine.
Oh, it's not Amnam?
My cup is full. It's in my stomach.
Oh,
I thought it was Vihine.
all right.
It's always
All right, so
Oh my
Amnam, all right.
gosh.
Amnam
Whatever,
is
just
going to be
drink.
for the
If you
water
feel the need to
drinkers.
drink, just drink.
Amnam will be for the water drinkers.
Okay.
Hine will be
Okay.
for the coffee drinkers.
Perfect.
I'll make sure you have a refill.
Excellent. V'amnam, however, hachachma ha'yaina, the divine wisdom, k'mayish et shayir ha'anyanim sh'roish tegila adam, the way it ascertains and assesses that a person, these are the things a person needs to have happen. Tishayir gam kinam tzayim shal yadim yigiu lai will also ascertain exactly what all of the different steps along the way will be in order to reach that point. Until we find that everything that happens, everything in the universe that goes on, will all be